Hello and namaste. Uh, Today we are very much fortunate to welcome Professor T.K. Datta here in Deshsanchar studio. Welcome you, sir, in Deshsanchar.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Before asking some questions, let me briefly introduce our guest here. Professor Datta is an alumnus of 1966 of B. College, Sipur. Professor T.K. Datta completed his PhD from IIT Bombay in 1973. He joined IIT Delhi as a lecturer in the Department of Civil Engineering in November 1975. He has been closely associated with the earthquake engineering initiatives in the country that were taken up after Latur earthquake. He had significantly contributed to the educational development program as a QIP coordinator and coordinator for upgradation of civil engineering program of the Institute of Engineering IOE. Amongst different awards received by him, the most notable one is the 15th Quajarmi, very difficult to pronounce, International Award for his research work in earthquake engineering and structural control. He is a fellow of the Indian National Academy of Engineering. He is highly regarded as a dedicated teacher and researcher by his students, scholars, and the reference group. In addition to this introduction, he has been following the teaching of Swami Vivekananda and the Ramakrishna. So we basically conduct this conversation in the core teaching of Swami Vivekananda and Ramakrishna. So let me ask you, Professor, as Swamiji said, education is not only the collection of information, but it is the tool for life building, man making, and character making. So, as an academician, how do you explain the practicality of this saying of Swamiji?
Well, in the beginning, let me thank you for inviting me for this particular discussion. I view Swamiji's concept of education to be very relevant at this juncture of time in India and in developing countries as well as in the world as such. Because of the high materialistic thrust in our way of life, education, we are driven to a particular state where the humanistic part of living is receding. In many cases, it is being forgotten. So, in that context, the Swamiji's conception of education becomes very much relevant. What Swamiji and other great thinkers thought of is that education should be essentially a man-making education. It should have an element of the growth of a person as a human being and inculcate the values of humanity along with his vocational training. Yes, vocational training is very important for earning our bread and butter, and we should not forget about that. But what has happened over the time, the technology has driven us to such an extent that we are only aiming at a vocational training, result-oriented training where we gain materially. But that's not all the part of life. The education itself should be able to keep us at least as a good human being in the society. And from that point of view, when you look at the Swamiji's concept of education, or other great thinkers' concept of education. And that becomes very much relevant today when we are forgetting the humanistic part of education. What Swamiji said is that a person, education means the manifestation of the perfection already is existing within him. And when he said about the perfection, he meant of some value systems, a very refined value system in a human being, which will not only give him a knowledge about how to live in a society, but give him a knowledge that how to remain with oneself and oneself at peace. So this equilibrium that our inner desire and the outer desire, an equilibrium of these two, if these two things are not met properly, then despite our fulfillment of desires from the outer world, will remain inwardly very empty, sometimes restless. Sometimes we might lose our equilibrium and perhaps we'll start behaving not like a human being. So I think right now in the world, we see that kind of thing being manifested everywhere. We are achieving many things in the material life, but we are not satisfied. We are not satisfied inwardly. We have forgotten to maintain the equilibrium. We have forgotten about the society. We have forgotten about our brothers and sisters around them. So for that purpose, I think the Swamiji's scheme of education is important.
So in our informal conversation this morning, explain to us that you are going to, write or publish the book Upanishadic teaching for the commoners. So please tell us briefly about what is this Upanishad teaching for commoners, and how did you come up with this idea, and what are the benefits for the commoners after going through this study of the 10 principal Upanishads?
Well, when I myself read the 10 Upanishads, principal Upanishads, I find that the wealth of knowledge is contained in these Upanishads. And the seers of the Vedic era, they looked upon the development of a person not only as a nice human being in the society, but development of a person in the direction in which he will attain this ultimate thing that is to be realized in a human being or an individual. And that realization was the main thrust of our education in the Vedic era. In fact, when we talk about education, our main thrust had been that through the education system, through the training of life, through the rigors of our other activities, we shall gradually approach to that particular state where we'll call that salvation or liberation, or an attainment of the identification of the self with the so-called infinity. So that was our main thrust. we had plenty of foods with ourselves. We are not bothered at that time about the food and other things. And day-to-day life used to run like that. But the final goal of having a human life was to attain that. That was the kind of education that at those time people conceived. But down the line, the degeneration took place, and we were hungry to have more material pleasures and material things. We had forgotten about that particular education where you are lifted to a state where people can think of liberation of the soul. We forgot about that. And but many great thinkers, they thought that, well, maybe we have degenerated from that particular highest goal of education, but at least our education should have some elements so that an individual becomes a person who had some value systems, where he is not only a selfish human being, but he looks around the society itself and how we can live in the society with certain kind of moral and spiritual values. So that one can fulfill some kind of inner joy or inner strength or inner identity with some infinite being. So that particular thirst remain with the population or the human being in general. So that's how I thought that these things which are written in the scripture or Upanishads, that may be helpful to a commoner person to recognize what are those values, what are those spiritual attainments, which are the things that can lead a person to elevate a person to a higher state of being. So at least we must be aware of that. Unless we are aware of that, we cannot make a beginning. So from that point of view, I took up this task of making a 250 slide presentation of Upanishads for a commoner, so that he get to know these ancient philosophy of a human being being elevated to higher, or a human being can exist at higher levels of existence, where he is able to, identify with certain wider perspective of life, which is also sometimes called infinite state of existence. So that was my humble aim to work on this. The work is halfway through. I have made 125 slides so far. I have yet to make 125 slides. But the entire written material from which I will be making these slides, that task is over with me.
Again, welcome, Professor Datta. We have been friends for more than 30 years. And your contribution in starting the first master's program in structural engineering at Pulcher campus, and then again going further, PhD, doctoral program, and postdoctoral program at the Institute of Engineering is highly appreciated by the faculty and by the country. At the Institute of Engineering, you've been associated for the last, I remember, 1996, when we started the first master's program in the country. We started 3 master's programs with our Norwegian partner. That was one in structural engineering, environmental engineering, and urban planning. And we had 3 Norwegian professor who worked with us, and you would know Doria Havelson is no more now. A very true lover from Nepal, structural engineering. And then, yes, you've been coming as external and then guiding our students. So, yes, that's been highly appreciated. Now we are moving into another level of thinking. It's not algorithm, like I said before, it's identity. So my sort of, working in this field in engineering, education and training for the last 52 years, I see four evolution of teaching learning, not just engineering, but other areas of education and training. First is, I don't know, maybe when I was a student 60 years back, it was teaching, where the central part was the teacher. Like we say, Gurudeva Bhava. Teachers were regarded as God, and as you know, God cannot make any mistake. Okay? But later on, it shifted from teaching. The end is ing. It shifted to learning, which the focus shifted from teacher to learner, which is a good thing. So the learner was the focus. Teacher role is still there, but still the focus shifted to learners, learning. So from teaching, it became learning, ing, end is ing. Then the third phase, that was not enough. Like you talked about livelihood, earning. So the third phase was earning. So it has to be linked with something, that the guy has to be able to get some employment and so. Now the fourth stage is a difficult one. This is where I think the teaching of Swami Vivekananda, Ramkrishna Paramhamsa would come into focus. The fourth phase is the living. It all ends in ing. This is where it is, because all the three were more or less definite or concrete, whereas the last one, where living comes into picture, is very abstract. And as engineers or as human beings, we don't like abstraction. We want predictability. So now I am learning philosophy, and I haven't studied in detail about Swamiji's contribution, but I have listened to his speech, 1836 speech in Chicago, more on religion, not whether you worship God or whether you don't worship God. It's about spirituality. So my hypothesis is that unless and until you're a good citizen, a good human being, you can never, and I emphasize you can never, that I can definitely say, you can never be a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer or a teacher. So that is an area where how would you, it's again abstract, how would you define and relate a good human being related to, like last time in the morning we discussed about the holistic development, not the technical content, but a holistic development of a person where you have self-confidence, self-reliance, and then everyone said, especially Swami Ji said, service. So how can we define good living? How do you define good person? But then how would you integrate that in our education and training system, the modern, so-called modern education and training system in all over the world, not just the developing countries?
Well, Pramod, we are known to each other for a long time. I have seen you, doing many great things in Nepal. I was instrumental in doing something with you people over here. I enjoyed and look forward to also doing these kinds of things with you in future. As for your statement regarding how do you define these the optimal or golden combination of a human state of existence where he looks for his earning as well as for his living together, a golden mix of these two. For that, basically, I shall quote again Vivekananda. He said that every soul is potentially divine and is thriving for salvation. So what he meant by that individually, if you look at a human being, is looking for something else beyond what we see today in our day-to-day life or the materialistic life. There is some inner urge within ourselves that is there. Maybe because of our overt desire on materialism, they have got suppressed very much. But that desire to be liberated from all these, that is intrinsic in a human being. And from that sense, we are all potentially divine. Divine state means that we de-recognize these petty material desires and desire for a higher state of existence. Now, a parallel concept we get in Maslow's social living, Maslow's theory of social living. There, when you talk of the Maslow's pyramid, there is an innate tendency of a human being, a social being, is to climb higher up the pyramid. And as he climbs higher up the pyramid, he leaves behind the gross desires and moves towards finer desires. And when he moves towards a higher level of desire, then we find that it becomes finer and finer in the sense that we are moving towards the apex. And when we reach the apex, it's very difficult to define a point in space. So it becomes undefined state of existence. So it is an innate desire in a human being. It's not that we are trying to really look for a new definition of what is our real inner desire or real inner existence. Our existence is like that only. We want a state where we are embracing something which is not the gross living, a finer state of existence. So whether you put it in the form of Maslow's theory, or you say in the words of Vivekananda, that we are all potentially divine and thriving for liberation. Liberation or salvation means that reaching that highest point, that finer point of the apex. So that's what it means like that is there within us. The only thing is that perhaps in our, again to repeat the word, overt desire for materialism, we have forgotten it. And we have to now go back and tell that, look, no, we are not like this. We have that inner desire. We want to be like this. So, but to do that, we need these kinds of, assistance of Upanishadic experiences, values, wisdom, and we have to think or bring Swami Vivekananda again into picture and say that he told it boldly, in bold words, that no, you are not that. The way you are thinking yourself, you are not that. You are absolutely a divine, entity. Okay, and you automatically want to go out of these pretty desires that you have, material desires. That is something, an inner push we have already within us. So for that, all these kinds of discussions or preparation of slides or reading materials, they become important. It is just to remind us. And once we are able to again think that, yes, we have forgotten in the go of our life, in the run for our materialistic achievement, we have forgotten about it, then we'll automatically stand and look back and try to think, oh, yes, it's there within us, and we'll move ahead. So from that particular perspective, I think Swamiji's education is very, very relevant.
Related to that on a very philosophical, metaphorical level, Swami Vivekananda's Guru, Ramkrishna Paramhamsa. So we were talking about Hangs, okay, and the Hangs cohort. So can you explain the characteristics of Hangs, the swan, related to the water that you were saying, and why Ramakrishna ji was addressed as Paramhamsa? Okay, thank you.
I came to know from some monks that there is a category of monks who are called as Paramhamsa category. And these monks, Paramhamsa category, they live in this world, but the worldly matters don't touch them. So, like a swan, when he is in water, he swims on over water, but that moment he comes out of the water, no water is clinging to his body. So, we can sail through this world, material world, absolutely no problem. But any moment we can come up, and the moment I come up, the material things are no more attached to me. So that's the significance of the Paramhamsa. They can move anywhere. But the thing is that atmosphere of that places where he will be moving around, that will never cling to him. He will be detached from that. So Ramakrishna was given this particular upadhi, the Paramhamsa upadhi, because of this, that his way of life is that he said, you can live in this world, the way you are living, yet you can be detached from everything. Nothing should cling to you. You do your duty, every duty you fulfill in the context of doing your duty in the life, but take it more as a duty you have to perform. Or don't get attached to it or cling to it. So that was one of the what you call advices to the grihis, the persons who live in the day-to-day world, that this is the best way to swim across this world till the end of your life, and everyone can do it. It's a matter of sheer practice. He never recommended that you leave everything and go to the jungle and become a monk. No. He said that you become a worldly person, yet the things should not get attached to you so strongly as you feel. So, the relevance of Sri Ramakrishna in the present day living or present society is that this advises to ordinary person that yes, ordinary persons can achieve peace. He can remain at peace with himself, provided he does not cling to the things that he is doing so innately and do not become so much passionate about it, right? So that's how the Paramhamsa, I am forgetting the name of the person who came in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, and he attained Nirvikalpa Samadhi. What was Tutapuri? Tutapuri himself is a monk of the Paramhamsa order. Paramhamsa order.
Namaste, Professor Sir. So I would like to ask why most of the freedom fighters in India were inspired by Swamiji. I have heard, and I will also read somewhere, that like Sri Aurobindo, Subhash Chandra Bose, these kind of personalities were so much inspired by Swamiji. So what were the reasons for that? and what kind of thing we youth can learn from Swamiji. As we see Swamiji work, whatever he spoke or wrote is now compiled in 8 or 9 volume as the complete works of Swami Vivekananda.
There were about 13 volumes.
Now 13 volume.
13
Right.
volumes.
So when we bought, it was 8 or 9 volume. So as Swamiji left at the age of 39 in 1902, I think. So how he was able to write so much or speak so much with that level of accuracy? So can you highlight on 2 things about his work, complete works of Vivekananda, and why he was the source of inspiration for all the freedom fighters? Thank you.
Well, the first thing was that all these persons from Aurobindo, Subhash Chandra Bose, and other contemporary the patriots of India, they were highly motivated in the first place by his writings. So they were all very, Aurobindo was an IAS, but he left and became a monk. Subhash Bose was he was in the school final at that time. He was a second ranker person, and he also went for tripos and cleared all the on 3 subjects honors at a time. That is called tripos. He did it. So they are very highly well-read and intellectual persons. But all of them were attracted by Swamiji's spiritual or spirited talks, and more so about his feeling for the brothers of India, or you used to call brothers and sisters of India. So his patriotic feeling, which he had, despite being a monk, he had a tremendous amount of patriotic feeling, or that feeling basically finally converts to the feeling of pulling up the people who are downtrodden, and those who want to be lifted up in life. And he, in fact, dedicated his life for that only, for their welfare, to pull them up. So these forceful writings and his spirit and feeling for the people of India, that was the biggest thing for these people, intellectuals. They were all very much inspired by that feeling. After all, the freedom fighters were also patriots. So that patriotism which was there in Swamiji, that basically attracted them. So to answer your first question. Second thing is that if you look at the Aurobindo's life, he got transformed when he was in jail, right? And then when he was in jail, he had the opportunity to think within and discover that it is not these patriotic things for which he has come in this world, nor he has come to become a IAS officer. He has come to achieve something higher than that. And for that, basically, Vivekananda was a role model for him. So similarly, it is said that Subhash Chandra Bose, he went to Ramakrishna Mission after Vivekananda left this world, and he met Swami Brahmananda ji, and he expressed his desire to become a monk, but he said that no, you are not meant for that. Monkhood is not meant for you. You have other things to do. Okay. So innerly, these peoples recognize that there is something within them which has to be, to which they have to listen, and they have to go and live in a different state of existence. And there, again, the role model was Swami Vivekananda. So that answers your first question. Second question is that, to answer that, within a short span of life, 39 years, and that too, if you leave behind, say, 20 years of his life, and after 20 years, maybe as a monk, he traveled all over the India, that all this thing took about, say, 7 to 8 years. So he got about 12 years of time in his life to get all this work done. That is astonishing. How it came about. What force was there within him. So when it was asked to him, he himself was not able to answer it properly. He said, sometimes he said that I have given a lecture and I do not know what I will be lecturing tomorrow. The things are not there in me, anything to say more. But then I found that when I am sleeping, I find another Vivekananda stands in front of me in the dream and he is speaking eloquently. And I listened to that, and next day I used to give that lecture. So these are some kind of mystic thing. But, despite those mystic things, it appears that some divine force, whether we believe it or not, was working all the time behind him. And it's really astonishing that we know all the writers, big writers, who has written, but the lectures, orations, simple orations become a literature of a high standard. That kind of example is not there in the world. His entire Vivekananda's literature, which we read, 60 to 70% of that is oration, simple lecture that has been collected and written. So it's really a wonder how one can, have that kind of literary flair through talking only. So what kind of spirit worked behind him? It's really difficult. We have to come and believe in Sri Ramakrishna then. And Sri Ramakrishna said that in his Bengali word, in a simple village Bengali word, he used to say that Naren Shikha Dibe. Naren means his pre-monastic name Naren. Shiksha means education. And Debe means will give. So he used to say innocently that Naren Shikha Dibe. How will Shikha Dibe, God knows. At that time Naren really became a Swami Vivekananda. He was just a Naren. Maybe his grace of Guru, if we believe in Guru Parampara, his grace of Guru that he could do that. Or he was ignited with the spiritual power which was already within him, and that ignition was done by Sri Ramakrishna. And he said categorically then that whatever I had, I have given it to you. Okay, and with this, you will do the welfare of human being and the world with this power. You will not do anything else. You will not do any kind of narrow miracles or other kinds of things. You will use it for the welfare of humanity and human being. So maybe that is the power. That is the power that was working behind him. But finally, it has to be understood or admitted that I can give you some power, but that power should be retained also. But he was a big retainer who could retain that power. Okay, that is what Swamiji is.
Sir, my one question, in your experience, what is the relevance of spirituality engineering education?
Spirituality, as I told you, many people, interpret in different words. But what I understand, the spirituality means a set of values, inner values that you follow. If you follow those inner values, that brings in some kind of inner strength within you. This is number one. Number two, the moment you inculcate those values within you, not only the inner strength will be there, you will find that you have something within you which is trying to bloom like a flower. So, the spirituality means that through the spirituality we recognize that there is the bud of flower within us, and that bud of flower wish to bloom into a big, beautiful flower, and that flower, whatever way you define, that is different story, but that is what I mean by spirituality. So, when we take it to our education or educating the present generation, especially present generation, we see that they are devoid of this kind of value system. They are really our end product people who will be, successful materially, deliver goods and everything, but they are devoid of that particular value systems, and as if they have forgotten themselves. So our education, this spiritual education, will simply remind them, no, you are not what you are. You are something more than that. You have some more inner thing. A flower is to be born out of it, you. So that is where I insist upon this spiritual education, and that is what I mean also by spiritual education.
Related to that question, I would feel that the core element in any spiritual thinking or spiritual undertaking is the discipline. And last time in the morning we talked about the power of concentration, the process of concentration, where you can deal with the algorithm, whereby you are given a mathematical problem where you need 10 pages of derivation. It's total concentration for maybe half an hour or 45 minutes, depending on your mathematical reasoning. But then it is complete concentration. If you miss that concentration, you cannot get the answer. There's one answer. So this is where I think whenever we do why do we say that we have to go to the mountain or the Himalayas or the forest to be a yogi? It's basically to concentrate in such a way that you're not disturbed by the worldly thing. And this is the art of discipline, which I don't think is being practiced now. And one example, whether it's politically correct or religiously correct or not, why do Muslims pray 5 times a day looking at the direction of Mecca? For me, it is discipline.
Yeah.
Discipline.
And discipline, right.
Because in the plane also, I hope you remember, but they do it. Right, wrong, I'm not the one to say. But this is the culture of discipline. And in our religious discourse also is discipline, isn't it? You have to do in certain way. You can question that. Why do you move? I remember one foreigner asking me personally 30 years back, because he was asking me, there is a road, in the middle there is a stone. For you it's a stone obstructing the traffic, okay? But for the common Nepalese, it's a symbol of a god. So we travel, we go around clockwise. Okay? And if you look at a circle, you talked about the point, I always talk about the point and the circle. Okay? When you are moving around, you are not thinking of anything. You don't know what's the start and where is the finish, isn't it? In a circle, can you define the starting point and the finish point? So it is eternity. So that's how. So I explained that foreigner that this is why we do it. For you, it's a stone blocking the traffic. You see in Kathmandu, in a lot of places. But for us, right or wrong, I don't know. For us, it is going around in eternity. There's no start and there is no end to it because we go around. It's not a dot. Okay. So these sort of things would take time for a foreigner to understand. Okay. Thank you.
One more question, short question. It is said that Swamiji derived his strength, it is said, from Upanishads. So can you say something on this in short?
Yes. The Swamiji's teaching basically are, if you read his Gyan Yoga, he has written on Gyan Yoga, Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, all the three primarily. So his Karma Yoga and Gyan Yoga, these two, they were primarily derived from Upanishads and Vedas. By Karma Yoga, he said that we are not living in that era, Vedic era, where we are able to burn tons of ghee, what is the butter and offer to the fire and do yajna. But the whole purpose of doing yajna is to purify your own soul. And he said that in this era, that Kali Yuga, he said that Karma Yoga is the kind of a yoga which you are doing or offering to the fire. Instead of pouring so much of butter into the water in the fire and getting purified yourself, through Karma Yoga you can purify yourself. So the essence of Karma Yoga, that do service for the others, through that purify yourself, that was derived from the Vedic yajna. So in fact, he has given a parallelism to both Karma Yoga and the Vedic yajna. The Gyan Yoga, about which he has wrote, that is completely derived from the Upanishads. And he was what you call the Katha Upanishad. He was highly impressed by Katha Upanishad. Yeah. In fact, he even used to weep, cry, talking about Nachiketa. Yeah. Yeah. He was so impressed with that, his quest for knowledge. And from that Upanishad only, he's made his famous, what you call, yet to the sermon to all the people, that the Uttishtata Jagrata Prapavara Nivadata Khurasya Dhara Nishita Durattaya Nishita Durattaya, last line I'm forgetting. Yeah. So anyway, arise, awake, stop not till the goal is reached. Yes. So these particulars taken directly from that sloka. Uttishtata Jagrata Prabhara Nivasa Khurasya Dhara Nishita Durattaya Durgang Patastat Kavaya Vadanti. So that is the sloka. So his teachings were Gyan Yoga, complete Gyan Yoga, what he has written for people, that was Upanishadic philosophy. So also your Aurobindo's teachings are primarily based on Upanishad only. Only thing he has interpreted it slightly in a different way, that the divine life, that this life itself is divine, and realize that. So he little bit, interpreted it in his own way, but that was the Upanishadic philosophy.
Professor, one thing that I remember, Swamiji always used to inspire the youth youth, young generation. Swamiji says, I quote, "My faith is in the younger generation, the modern generation. Out of them will come my workers. They will work out the whole problem like lions." Can you give your perspective in the contemporary time when young generation like Gen Z in Nepal are in the phase of doing revolution in the country? So where do you see the better perspective of Swamiji's younger generation in nation building?
Yes, it's a little difficult question to answer, frankly speaking. The first thing that I would say that the movements like Gen Z movements or the other movements that we see around the world, the student movements, they are given a political tone. This is number one. This political tone is given, or color is given by the opportunist group to this movement. But one thing that we must admit, whether it is a Gen Z movement or any other student movement that you see, that especially surrounding the political events, it shows that the youth has got a tremendous amount of spirit. Spirit, by the spirit I don't mean the value system. Spirit means energy here. Yes. So tremendous amount. There is the whole lot of a stock of energy, and that energy is only being diverted in one direction. But what Swamiji meant is that my faith is in the younger generation, means he meant that this energy, that human energy, that innate green energy which is there, so that is resting with them, and through them my work and vision will be cultivated and will one day have its fruit. That's what he meant. But he essentially recognized that huge pool of energy which is there in the young generation, and he said that my work will come out of that. The only thing is a matter of channelizing. So our people, we ourselves are channelizing this energy or trying to pull it in a direction which I would not say wrong, good or bad or wrong or right, but has been channelized in a different direction. But in parallel we see that yes, Swamiji's that wish or thought or recognition of the energy within the youth, that is there, because a Ramakrishna Vivekananda movement or the mutt, that is mission that is being run, that is run by young brahmacharis. They become brahmachari, and through their energy, through their spirit, Swamiji is living. And it has become a very worldwide big mission, and a place where people can sit for some time, think about his oneself and enjoy the tranquility and recognize the higher self within. So all these things are happening through this mission, and the mission was being run. It starts with the brahmacharis. They are the young people. So Swamiji also said that one brahmachari was weeping, saying that Swamiji will leave us at the age of 39. He said that I will not cross 40. So then a few brahmacharis started weeping. He said that if you go, then what will happen to us? He said that no, I live within your work, with your work. I'll be still living with you through your work. So he has a huge faith in this young generation. and young spirit, so-called spirit. So that's what he meant. But to come to the real question that what really we should interpret or view or do with these movements like gender movements, what really do we do? Can we pull back these persons? One thing is that maybe these guys themselves have not read Vivekananda, have not read Aurobindo. And if they have not read, it is our fault. We have not made them read. Okay. So that is onus perhaps is with us. And that's why maybe with that particular thing in mind, I am trying to make these 250 slides. For commoners means maybe ordinary boys, young people, they are exposed to these kinds of things.
The secret of religion, as per Swami Vivekananda, lies not in theories but in practice. To be good and do good, that is the whole of the religion. With this very saying of Swami Vivekananda, I would like to thank Professor Datta, and let's conclude our conversation. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.